Welcome to this year's 2021 NMOA State Clinic. This is the first session of many. If you are a multiple sport official, you'll be with us all weekend. Basketball will go on today at 4, 5:15, and 6:30, followed by volleyball tomorrow morning, 8, 9:15, and 10:30, and football starting at 1, 2:15, and 3:30, followed by our closing with our diversity and inclusion panel. So with that, let me go over a couple Zoom etiquette rules for all of you. If you can please stay muted throughout the duration of the presentation, we will give you the opportunity to unmute at the end and ask questions. If you do have a question during the presentation, feel free to put that in the chat, and either myself or Dana will read those questions off to one another. Since we are the presenters, we'll answer those questions. All right, and last but not least, if you do have a what if question, don't ask it. And I'm joking, but I'm serious, I don't know. So if you do have a what if question, save it for the end of the meeting, and then we'll try to answer those as best as possible. Chances are we probably won't have an answer for you. So with that, before I get started and we get started, we want to make, I kind of want to play a short video, and really this video kind of represents everything that Dana has taught us the past 24 years. And when I wrote these 10 rules to live by, it was definitely inspired by many mentors, but a lot of it was Dana. The past 15 years that I've been an official, I think that she has truly inspired all of us in one way or another. And with this being her final state clinic, I think it's appropriate that we share these 10 rules. And for those of you that are on here that are brand new officials, first year to third year, welcome. My name is Acosta. I am the assistant to the Commissioner of Officials. Dana will jump on here shortly, and she is currently the Commissioner of Officials, but will soon be out of here. So, but with that, let me go ahead and play this video, and we'll get started. All right, and with that, we want to kick off the 2021 NMOA State Clinic. I do want to say that if you're a brand new official, I can tell you that my time as an official, and Dana can probably vouch for this, is, if you live by those 10 rules, you're going to have a pretty successful career as an official. And so, again, I'll send these out multiple times. I'll show it throughout the year, but really, I think that is kind of the foundation that our association lives by. And so for that, thank you, Dana Pappas. And with that, I'll hand it over to Dana.
Okay, so can everybody hear me? Nate and I are trying to share a microphone so that we don't have all kinds of feedback and whatnot. So welcome to the 2021 State Clinic. Last night we had our executive board meeting, which was outstanding and tearful on my end, of course, but this is my 25th state clinic with the NMOA, and I'm excited to be here just as much as as I was 25 years ago. So to those of you who are brand new to the association, welcome to the NMOA family. And to those of you, I see some veterans on here. Art Romero, it's awesome seeing you on, because I know you have done this for more than 3 years. So it's great to have veterans on here, and it's great seeing people from all over the state joining us. So I'll have Nate start the slideshow so that we can get rolling. And of course, the 10 rules that Nate just played, that is something he developed, and every time he shows it, I get goosebumps. So that's just a sign that we still care about this, and we love it, and we love our officials and what we do to serve them. So this is Officiating 101, and it was developed really for first through third year officials, but it's a great refresher for veterans, and it's also something as veterans you can take back to your groups. And this will be, we'll record this, obviously, we're recording it, and then if you would like a copy of the PowerPoint at any time, just let us know and we can send that to you as well. Nothing we do here is a secret, so we're always glad to share and spread any information that we have. All right, so welcome to the wonderful world of interscholastic officiating. You're registered with the NMOA, now what? So we're going to run through some things, and this is very broad in a lot of ways, but hopefully it'll kind of get your feet wet if you're a new official. If you're a veteran official, like I said, it'll be good information to review, because I think sometimes we all need a little bit of review. So the NMOA structure is actually what you're looking at right now, and what we encourage our officials to do at all levels is to really familiarize yourself with the NMAA and NMOA websites. That is actually www.nmact.org, and you can see that officials tab is where you're going to be looking. But when you look at the structure of the NMOA, we fall under the greater umbrella of the New Mexico Activities Association. We're governed by the NMAA Board of Directors, which you see at the top of your screen, and those are superintendents from around the various regions within our state. They hire the executive director of the NMAA, which is Sally Marquez. And then underneath that would be the commissioner of officials, the assistant to the commissioner of officials. So that's me and Nate, me for the next, 14, 15 days or so. And then the varsity regional assigners, who are the individuals who take care of, as it sounds, varsity assignments, local assigners who take care of middle school assignments. And then that's kind of the one side. On the other side of it would be the NMOA executive board. So they're the individuals that really are the governing body directly of officials. They take care of everything that's within that constitution and bylaws, which we'll get into in just a minute. They are comprised of 13 members. There's a president, a vice president, one representative per sport, a supervisory committee chair, and then a representative from the New Mexico High School Coaches Association. The supervisory committee is the body. It's 5 individuals, one from each region. Those individuals take care of any kind of hearings, first of all. So if there's a disciplinary situation, they'll take care of that, but they're also the nominating committee for positions that are vacant within the executive board. Each local group, in some cases, I should say, have a local supervisory committee. Sometimes very small groups do not have one, and they will just defer to the NMOA supervisory. Your local association group leaders are really the people that you're going to have as new officials. Well, as any official, you'll have the most contact with that group leader. They're the educational leader for your local association. Your assigners, and your group leaders are the individuals that you will really have the most contact with. So the NMOA is the group who you register with. We provide your rule books, your insurance, training materials. We put on the clinic and other various training opportunities throughout the year. But throughout the season, your primary contact will be with the local group leader and assigners. And then, of course, there's the officials we have prior to COVID. So last year has the asterisk next to it in so many ways. But we have 1,746 officials in 10 sports. And when I started here back in the olden days, there were about 900 officials in 6 sports. So to see that kind of growth over the years has been exciting and interesting in every way. The NMOA is a membership-led organization with bylaws created by and for the officials in the state. So we encourage you, whether you're a first-year official or a 54th year official, get involved in the processes that affect you. That's local elections, statewide elections, referenda items we send out for changing the Constitution, and just get involved locally and at the statewide level. I'll use Nate here as an example. When he was a young official coming in through the ranks, he saw some things that he wanted to change, and he got involved immediately at the local level in Las Cruces, where he started out, and really, worked his way up from being a local sub-varsity assigner. He was the group leader until we stole him away, and he started working here as the commissioner of officials. But he threw his name in the hat for board positions and anything he could, and that's just, it's empowering when you take the opportunity to be involved in these processes. So please, regardless of experience level, this is your association, and we want you all to lead from within.
And absolutely, and to kind of piggyback on that, if you see something that needs fixing or you have ideas, no idea is dumb, and every idea is looked at and really kind of used. I don't think that anytime anyone's brought an idea to the table, we have turned it away. We've figured out a way to implement these changes. And so, like she said, this is your organization. It's not the Dana Pappas, it's not the Nate Acosta, it's not the Sally Marcus or the NMA organization. This is the Officials Association, and it is your responsibility to lead and to make the changes necessary.
All right, so continuing on with kind of the governance and structure, you'll see on the screen now your governing documents. So I had alluded to the NMOA Constitution and bylaws, and that's divided into 3 parts. The Constitution, which is really only about 2 pages long, it's pretty brief. It just talks about the organization and the requirements for being a part of it. The bylaws get in depth a little bit more. It talks about the classification of officials. It has our code of conduct. It has the series of sanctions that are in there, as well as some other policies. And then the advancement and certification criteria that's really what everybody looks at. So that's how you get through the levels of officiating to become state eligible, which is a goal for many. It's not the goal for everybody, and that's absolutely okay. So in that, it talks about how many clinics you have to go to, and that's what you're doing right now. How many local meetings you have to attend, what your test score has to be. If it's a sport with a camp requirement, that's in there. The Constitution is actually every other year is reviewed by the NMOA Executive Board, and we actually are in that process right now. So in October, they will be looking at proposed changes from a constitutional review committee to make those changes, and then it goes out to a referenda to the entire membership. So if there's something in there you absolutely don't like, ask questions. Absolutely, if you're wondering why it was put into there, but certainly vote against it. That's within your rights. So make sure you take a look at that when it comes to probably late part of October, early November. So I'm throwing that out there, even though I'm not going to be here. So I put pressure on someone. But the next document is the NMOA Athletic Officials Manual, which is currently being revised as well. And that really talks more about, as officials, what your local meetings should look like, responsibilities of officials. It's got more of that information. And then the NMAA handbook, within that, the fee schedule is in there, which is established by the NMAA Board of Directors. And there's also, it talks about state tournament. It doesn't talk a lot about officials in the NMAA handbook, but they are mentioned throughout. So that's the three governing documents that we have for the officials in our association. Okay, so the next section, and where do you fit in? So that's always a question when officials come in new. Sometimes it's a little bit overwhelming. So obviously you are a registered member of the New Mexico Activities Association and New Mexico Officials Association. So when you're registered with us, that gives you the basically licensure to call games for NMAA member schools. Anything you do with Little League, YFL, AAU, any of that other stuff, that is separate from us. There are some insurances that you're provided through the NFHS, and it actually does cover you when you do those local leagues. But your registration with us is for the high school season. Again, the majority of the work you do will be with your varsity regional assigner, local assigner, and group leader. We have weekly training meetings that are held by your local group. And then our office hosts one meeting per month online for all officials in each sport. We also conduct preseason district and state clinics. We maintain all your records for you as an official and ensure that your rating is kept accurate here in the office so that you know what you're eligible to call in the postseason.
And I will just kind of briefly explain kind of our rating system. So when you come in as a brand new official, depending on your registration, if you registered for sub-varsity only, you are registered, your rating is sub-varsity only. If you come in as a first-year official and you register for varsity, you may not receive a varsity contest, but you would come in as an apprentice. And I always recommend brand new officials to come in as varsity and sub-varsity registration, even if you may or may not work a varsity contest. And that's because the way our rating system works and how to get to state eligible, it would be a 4-year process for most sports. If you register your first year, if you register as a sub-varsity your first year, you lose a year, and it would take you 5 years to get to the state eligible rating. Now, the lowest rating is apprentice, and that's usually the first year you come in. Second year would be registered. Third year would be playoff eligible, and fourth level would be state eligible. And in order to reach all those, again, you want to familiarize yourself with our bylaws and our constitution and go to the sport specific. Every sport is different as far as required meetings, test scores, number of games called, and of course, your clinic requirements. When I was first starting out, my mentors all just told me, don't miss a clinic and you'll be fine. And I missed one clinic early on in my career for dumb reasons, and I didn't get to work my first state tournament until my 5th year, when I probably could have worked it in my 4th year. So again, if you just show up to everything, you don't have to worry about what the bylaws say. Just you didn't miss it. So that's probably the easiest way to remember how to keep up with your rating, is just don't miss anything.
If you can go. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the business of officiating. So this is something that we get some questions about, and probably I'll throw myself right under the bus. Probably haven't done a very good job of getting this information out to officials as they come in. So buying uniforms and equipment, unfortunately, we are not in a financial position to provide those for officials. So that is something that you will provide on your own. We don't mandate that you buy them from any particular vendor. However, we do ask that you go through Smitty Officials Apparel. They are our vendor for our state clinic. So we do give them kind of the advertisement through our office. They're really trying to build more of a relationship with our officials and doing more as far as our items with logos and that stuff. So they're very open to doing what we need them to do so that officials will feel comfortable with their equipment and uniforms. Know your tax benefits and liabilities. And I am not by any means an accountant or a tax expert, but I'm going to give you some stuff that I do know. Claim your income for the sake that you can write off your expenses. So we have some officials who skip right down to number 2 there. and they write off their expenses, and then they get nailed by the IRS, the State Department of Tax and Rev, because they are claiming all these expenses with absolutely no income. So the expenses are many, state and local dues, professional memberships. So if you join something like NASO or PABO or any of those other organizations that are, somewhat related to high school officiating, they are tax deductible. Any of your uniforms, equipment, non-reimbursed travel. So if you're driving to meetings, clinics, camps, keep a mileage log, and you do get reimbursed for that travel, which you'd be amazed how quickly that adds up, as well as your camp fees. And just make sure you keep documentation of everything. So, don't try to guess, I think I spent $112 on my uniforms. Make sure you have receipts. Keep yourself organized from the onset. If you're a spreadsheet nerd like I am, keep a spreadsheet of your mileage, whatever it takes to keep you organized. So that way, if you have an accountant or H&R Block or whoever you're filing your taxes through, you can give them that in an organized fashion. It'll really help with the tax situation. So just some stuff to think about as you join this avocation, or reminders for those of you who have been with us for a while.
And again, really, if you're starting out, just create those really good habits of record keeping. I know that when I first started, I was seeing the money come in and I wasn't really keeping track of anything else, but and that will cost you eventually. So just stay on top of it and really start those good habits early.
And a little bit more of the business of officiating. Insurance. So through your membership with the NMOA, you become a member of the National Federation of State High School Associations, which is my future employer as of August 1st. That does include a $1 million liability insurance policy that covers you for all of your officiating related activities. It's supplemental, so don't think that it's your primary insurance. It is a supplemental policy, but we have had officials who have been injured while working. We've had people who have been involved in accidents before, and it does cover. So it's travel to and from, it's all of those things. And then there is optional additional coverage that's available with membership in the National Association of Sports Officials. So NASO is the organization that also, through Referee Enterprises, they publish the Referee magazine. They hold an annual summit, and they're a huge advocate and educational branch for officials. The annual membership is somewhere around $100, also tax deductible, but I've heard that their additional coverage is outstanding. So if it's something that you're interested in, that would be helpful. So there's some mention in the chat, and thank you, Donovan and Greg, for bringing that up. Battlefields to ball fields. So if you are a veteran of the armed forces or an active member of the armed forces, you can work with Battlefields to ball fields. New Mexico is actually their flagship state when they started the initiative, and they will pay for uniforms, camp fees, registrations, any of that through 3 years, your first 3 years of officiating. If you're an official, so if you're in New Mexico and you've done football for a year and now you want to join basketball for the first time, even though you're within our population, because basketball would be a new sport for you, you would be able to apply for a scholarship through Battlefields to ball fields as well. So it's a great benefit. Mike Pereira and his staff have done a great job in really trying to get active military and veterans to work as officials, and a 3-year scholarship to have your stuff paid for is pretty cool. So make sure you look into that if you are of a military background. All right, so this is tips for future veterans, and Nate and I will probably kind of jump back and forth on this. So acquaint yourself again with the NMOA website, structure, and governing documents. Always be an advocate for yourself. Ask questions of your local and state leadership, and always take care of business. So what we always tell officials is we're going to do our best to take care of you and to help you and to hold your hand when necessary, but there's 2 of us and 1,746 of you. So make sure if you're missing something, if you haven't gotten an email that you are anticipating you should have gotten, get a hold of our office so that we can make sure that you're on board, but always advocate for yourself, because a lot of people kind of sit and wait for things to happen to them, and then they end up behind kind of behind the curve a little bit, and we don't want that to happen to our officials. So if it's a question you have about your rating, or you haven't gotten your rule books yet, or anything like that, or even if it's something about you don't understand how the assignment process works, with regard to assignments, talk to your assigner. Let your assigner, let your local group leader really know what your goals are as an official, because people in this avocation will help you, but they have to know what you want to do. There's some officials who just want to, work sub-varsity forever, and we need those officials, but there's other people who have high aspirations, either at the collegiate level, or they want to get to the state tournament, or whatever the case may be. If we don't know that, we can't help you with the tools to get there. So just make sure that you're having those conversations and you're really being an advocate for yourself and your career as an official. Be open to constructive criticism from your group leader, assigner, and veteran officials. That's something that sometimes is hard. None of us like to hear how we're messing up, but we do try to tell our leadership to make sure that they're also telling officials the things that they're doing well. Find a mentor. This is huge. If your local group doesn't have a built-in program, look for someone you connect with, somebody who has a similar background and someone you can trust. So if you're an educator and you know that someone in your group is also an educator, maybe latch onto them, because you're going to speak the same language. Or if you're both law enforcement, or if you're both, work for the state government, or whatever the case may be, just find somebody that you really click with. And it's okay to terminate a mentoring relationship if it's not working for you. So if you've asked somebody to be your mentor and they are just not there for you, don't use them as your mentor anymore. That's totally okay. And we have individuals that probably shouldn't mentor, but they try, and then it's just not successful for the mentee. And we want to make sure that that relationship is solid for you. And then ask our group, or ask your local group or our state office to help you find a mentor if you don't have one and you kind of don't know where to look.
And ultimately, when we talk about mentorship, it really is important to, one, find a mentor that has maybe met or reached some of the goals that you are looking at. I think that that's huge. Early in my career, and I associated myself, and I asked, not really asked, I just hung around the people that I wanted to be like, or have a similar career, and so when you surround yourself with those types of individuals, you're going to learn a lot more, and you're going to pick up things with an open mind. I think if you are kind of just given a mentor, it's not always fitting, and you might not have the same ideas as that individual. And so finding a mentor is huge for your growth as an official, but and the other thing is, it's not your mentor's responsibility to constantly reach out to you. You as an individual have to reach out to your mentor. Not that your mentors are busy, but they also have regular jobs, families, and other things, and they're not possibly thinking, what is Nate Acosta doing right now, right this second? I need to help him become a better official. Any of the mentors I've ever had, they pick up the phone, I ask questions, and sometimes it has nothing to do with officiating. It has everything to do with just life, and those are the valuable lessons and friendships that we build. So this is probably one of the most important slides that we have in this Officiating 101. You can't be successful without a mentor and somebody that's going to help you succeed. So with that, I'll pass on to the next slide.
And more on mentoring, because it is that important. So I think I did about 1.5 slides of these. Yeah. So it looks like, did it go?
Yeah, I went 2 slides.
I was like, I can't read that fast. So some of this is a repeat. I apologize for that. So the official with the most experience may not be the best mentor. So there are many times where there might be somebody who's done it for 30 years. And while it's awesome to hear their experience and learn from them in other ways, they may not be the best mentor for you, just personality wise, or maybe they communicate in a way that makes it harder for you to understand. So you don't always have to go to the most veteran person in your group. Remember that your mentor might be someone younger than you in age, but somebody who has experience and wisdom to share with you. So be open to that. If you're 50 and there's a 30-year-old who's been doing this for 10 years, that might be a great fit for you as a mentor and mentee. Make sure it's somebody with whom you have a meaningful connection, someone who will help guide you and not derail you, and someone who is positive. There are a lot of people in this business who can sometimes find a negative thing to say about anything. Those are probably not the people who are going to enhance your experience as an official. So find somebody, like I said, who really you feel like cares about you and you care about them as an individual. So find those positive people in your group, the ones that are always willing to talk and who you see kind of light up when they talk about officiating. Those are the people you want to kind of hitch to their wagon, and not the person who, sits in the back corner of the meeting and pouts the whole time or has a scowl on their face. Probably not the best mentor for you, but just find those people who exude positivity and really a passion and a love for this avocation. And then be a good mentee. So you do have some accountability in this relationship as well. You have to have a willingness to listen and learn. You need to be coachable. So many of you were probably athletes at some point. Just take that same philosophy or mentality into officiating as far as how you react or how you act when your coach would have coached you in football or hockey or soccer or whatever sport you played. Don't be a yeah butter. Supervisors, clinicians, assigners, evaluators really don't like that. So if you were given constructive criticism at a camp, or somebody watches you during a game and you have an excuse for absolutely everything, this is going to be a tough ride for you. So just make sure that you're accepting of guidance and feedback that you're given. It doesn't mean you have to take every single thing that the evaluator has told you and apply it to your very next game. Take the things that work for you, take the things that make sense to you and apply them as soon as you can. Improve every game, but don't make excuses, because we hear it all the time. I'll be at a camp and I'll hear a clinician talk to a camper and all of a sudden it's, yeah, but I did this, yeah, but I had that. Yeah, those are not fun officials to work with. So just, take criticism, constructive criticism, which I just saw in the comments. So there is a difference between criticism and constructive criticism. What we look for from mentors is that they are constructive in their criticism and they're not just tearing officials down unnecessarily if they've had a rough game. Make sure that you're going to your mentors' games. Take notes, ask questions afterward. Most of the time, you'll be able to go in and do a pregame with the crew and kind of see how that works. Pre-gaming is imperative in officiating. If you're ever a new official and you're with a veteran who says, we don't need a pregame, make them, because that's something that it's requisite for being a good official. So ask questions, take notes, go to your mentor's games, and hopefully your mentor will be at your games asking you questions afterward, because that's the best way to learn, is just to consistently dialogue, whether it's in the locker room or at Applebee's or wherever it is that you hang out afterward. Just ask those questions and be a good student of the game. And then again, there's pre-games and post-games. Always make sure it's okay with the whole crew. Most of the time, it's not going to be an issue. I would say 99% of the time, you're not going to have a problem with it. But sometimes it's hard at like a tournament situation where you've got one crew leaving and one crew coming in, and it gets a little bit crazy, especially because sometimes you're getting dressed in janitor's closets. So sometimes there may be a space prohibition, but other than that, you should be good to go. And then make sure you communicate your needs to your mentor. So help them guide you. It would be some advice that I would give to you as you develop that relationship with your mentor.
And a couple of the bullet points here, really, in order to be successful, you really need to just put yourself out there. Coming up, I got in the car a lot of times. I was off. I didn't have a game, and I jumped in the car for a 2-hour ride to go with my mentors or even just any crew. The other thing is you're going to hear a lot of feedback from a lot of different people. Be respectful of the feedback that you are receiving, because you can take bits and pieces from everybody that wants to give you feedback. Not all officials will give you feedback, but those that do, respect respect the fact that they are taking the time to give you something. You may not agree with it, but what you do is you at least take a look at it or try it, and if it doesn't work for your game, then you move on. But at least respect. A lot of times it's, well, Nate told me to do it this way. Well, yeah, but Nate's, the message is always the same. It's just said differently. I think most veterans are all on the same page. Just the way that we teach is a little different. So just take that, and if you truly have questions about what somebody told you, go back to your mentor and have the question. You're not going to badmouth the person that gave you the feedback, but you're going to ask your mentor, hey, I was told blah blah blah, what does this mean? And chances are that veteran, that mentor of yours is going to say, well, it's the exact same thing I've been telling you. This is how they meant it. And so really, again, the yeah butter is the same as the, well, Nate said. People aren't going to want to give you feedback if somebody else is, or if you're name dropping ultimately. So ultimately, just take anyone that wants to give you feedback, just take it and then use it in your game, like Dana said.
And absolutely, Myra, be enthusiastic about learning. That's so true. Learning the sport, coaches, players, and fans. And really, when you receive criticism, feedback, evaluation, whatever you want to call it, don't take it personally. And I know that's hard when somebody's looking at your performance, not to take it personally, but just understand that their heart is in the place of making you better. So just always keep that in mind. So some things to think about as you grow as an official. What are some characteristics of a good official? First of all, positive attitude, which Myra just alluded to as far as enthusiasm. So how do you react to situations? That reaction and what you do when something happens to you, either in a game or a meeting, or you aren't getting the assignments you think you should be getting, any of those things, how you react to that is much more important than some of the other things that are important as far as appearance, skill, anything else outside, comportment, all of those. Your reaction to things as an official is really going to dictate how well you do in this field. So courage, you've got to have courage to be an official, and that doesn't mean that you're not afraid. It just means that you can be resistant to that when the time comes. It's your abilities to make decisions without emotion. So as you know, in sports, there's a lot of emotion involved, and when everybody else is going crazy, it's the officiating rule to live by that Nate had about be like a duck, calm on the surface and paddling like crazy underneath. So when everything else has gone wild, it's up to you to stay level-headed. It's up to you to take in those facts, see the big picture, and not react emotionally. So keep a level head through everything that you do. So forgiveness, that's huge in officiating. You can't carry a grudge to anyone, coaches, players, partners, fans, the crazy person screaming at you from row 42. You can't hold a grudge against anybody in this business or you won't go very far. If you're holding a grudge, someone else is taking your opportunities. You're missing out on things that are available to you if you're going to dwell on what you feel was unfair to you. If you feel like just because you had one bad game, now everybody doesn't like you, or whatever the case may be, just make sure that you turn the page. You've got to learn. We talk a lot at our referee educational forum. You have to have that reset button when you've had that game that's gone haywire, which will happen. It's happened to everybody. I'm looking at Nate right now. He's had those. Jack Jones, Hall of Famers in here. He's had those. We've all had experiences where it just, things kind of get out of your control. So don't worry about it. You learn from it and move on, but don't live there. You've got to be able to turn the page. Honesty, tell the truth so you don't have to rely on your bad memory. You won't always be right, and you do have to have humility. But if you are honest about what has happened in a game, what has happened before or after a game, you don't have to think about how you spun the tale. Just tell us the facts. We see a lot of times when we receive ejection reports or game reports, officials who will editorialize quite a bit. So instead of just telling us at this time of the game, player A punched player B in the face. It's, well, this kid had been a problem the whole game, or this coach, 3 games ago, he was yelling at me for this or that. And then you start putting in things that cloud the story. So make sure that you're honest, make sure that you're succinct in what you talk about, because otherwise you're going to end up with one of those old fishing stories. It's going to go from a routine ejection to, oh my gosh, then there was a brawl in the stands. So just stick with the facts. And I love that. Tell the truth so you don't have to rely on your bad memory, because that will get you in trouble. As Nate said, this is huge. Putting yourself out there. Don't be afraid to fail. Take a risk and know that you can learn from your mistakes. Every official I know who is any good has that ability. They've been able to learn from their mistakes. It doesn't mean they haven't made them. It means that they've been able to learn from them and not repeat them. But they definitely are risk takers. They definitely are people who are willing to step up and be a crew saver in games. They're the people who really make they make other officials want to work with them, because they are okay with taking that risk, taking that leap, and really excelling as an official.
And look, officiating is not easy, and chances are you're going to fail more often than you succeed. And what I mean by that is, at the end of every season, there's only one crew that's truly happy with their season, and that's because they worked the last game of the season. The chances of that happening on a regular basis are unlikely. And so the positive attitude, understand that, there are so many situations in officiating. You're not always going to work the big game, and you're not always going to have the schedule that you want, but you have to maintain that positive attitude. Courage. We're in the courage business. Starting out, you may not have the courage, but I will tell you that this avocation, officiating, will build that in you. If you're somebody that feels like you don't have a lot of courage, trust me, you'll learn real fast. And we want you to stick around, and that is something that builds over time. And really, the last bullet point: not afraid to fail. I worked a game, and with a veteran official, and this individual told me after the game on our way to dinner, she mentioned, she goes, "Nate, you do a nice job. You're a really good U2. You're not going to get us in trouble. Your play calling's great, but you'll never move up. And that is because you got to not be afraid to fail." And what she said was, you got to F up to move up. And that really has kind of changed my outlook on officiating. Don't be afraid to make mistakes, because one, we've never called a perfect game. And so if you're worried about making mistakes, then you're always going to just stay where you're at. Make those mistakes, you learn from them, you grow from them, and you move up. So you got to F up to move up.
That doesn't mean intentionally do that.
Yeah, don't intentionally F up.
Just let me clarify.
Yeah.
And then more characteristics: kindness. This is something that is super important when you're arriving at a game, especially. There's no unimportant people or jobs. Remember that when you go to a school. Everybody is connected in this business. Something that we do that seems immaterial can be something really big. So remember, when you get to a school, if it's a custodian that opens the door for you, find out that individual's name. Ask questions of them. Talk to your table crew. Talk to the administration. If there's kids there, sometimes you'll have a kid who opens the door for you or takes you to the locker room. Remember those people, and remember that it doesn't matter if it's the superintendent that you see at the school or a freshman. They're all important, and they all have important roles and jobs within the interscholastic family. So that relationship building, how you're representing your local association and the NMOA and the NMAA, it's noted, and we hear about it all the time. I'm going to give a little example. This year, I got the weirdest text I've ever gotten in the history of my career, the week of the state baseball tournament. So I got a text from a phone number I didn't know, and it was a lady asking me or telling me that she had been in the car with her husband. They were driving to a nearby town, and I guess the couple had gotten into an altercation with one another. Somewhere in the middle of nowhere on a day where the temperature was about 104, he proceeds to kick her out of the car. And there's a car right behind her who sees the entire thing. And the individual who decides to pull over and see if this lady is okay was one of our baseball umpires. So in the text message that she sent, she goes, I just wanted to say thank you for the kindness that umpire had shown to me. She goes, I don't know what I would have done, because she was probably 30 miles from the next town. But the umpire, pulled over, picked her up, took her to the town she was trying to go to, and really kind of saved her day. And she apparently has a couple of kids who are high school athletes, and just wanted us to know that we have really good people working for us. And I knew that already, but to get a text like that, when you get a text from an unknown number, when you're a commissioner of officials, you're always a little leery reading those. But it was funny because she had explained where the person was coming from. So I knew immediately who the official was. I sent him a text and said, did you happen to pick up a lady on the side of the road? And of course he goes, yeah, I think he thought that he was in trouble, but I just wanted him to know how he impacted that woman's life. So just remember kindness in all that you do. Persistence. Sometimes success comes to those who hang on longer than those who let go. So don't be deterred in this. There will be highs and lows throughout your officiating career. Hang on. Remember why you started. Remember what made you get into this in the first place, and how it made you feel on the good games. So hang in there, even if you've got a rough go. Sometimes it's not just a rough game, it's a series of rough games. Hit that reset button constantly. So self-concept, you have to have a positive one, but always remember to stay, when you talk about confidence versus ego, stay on the side of confidence and try not to cross into the world of ego, because that's going to ruin your relationship with partners, with your supervisor, with coaches, with pretty much everybody. So be confident in what you do, but don't be arrogant. And then attitude, we talked about this earlier, how you choose to view things. I'm a victim versus I'm on a good team that's doing great things. So don't have a victim mentality. And we have a lot of those where it's, well, Dana, Nate, I go to camp all the time, and I go to clinics, and I do this and I do that. And it's stuff that everybody's doing. So what is it that you're missing? Don't play the victim role. Try to figure out what it is that you could do better, and ask questions, but don't think that it's because the world's out to get you, because we need good officials. So that's not the case at all. Attitudes are contagious. Make sure that yours is one that's worth catching.
Going back to ego is a bad place to live in officiating. And the reason for that is that you will never be happy. You will never be satisfied with what you have. Confidence is having the confidence in your ability as an official, and understanding that the circumstances to your schedule depend on so many different variables. And if you can be confident, you have a better chance of being successful. Ego, we all believe that we're better than we probably are, and that's okay. We want that. But we also need to understand that, don't let the ego get in the way when we don't get the big game that we thought we should get. Go into your next game with as much confidence, and things will fall into place for you. So stay away from that ego. And again, it goes to attitude. Living in the world of ego will change your attitude tremendously. Nobody wants to be no official. I personally don't want to work with officials that have egos, because those are the same officials that are bad-mouthing the assigner, bad-mouthing the process, bad-mouthing everything around them. And that's because their ego has gotten in the way of, their ability to just be confident in what their skill set is.
All right, so climbing the ladder patiently. Officials can advance within the local association as far as their ability can take them. So there is a point in your officiating career where you have to understand what you do well, where your limitations are. what your goals are, and be realistic about them. Look at your membership to see examples of fellow members to see how they've progressed. What are they doing that maybe you're not? If you're a football official and you wait until August 1st to start doing a kind of physical conditioning, and you have a partner or a crew member who works out every single day, and they're advancing and getting a better schedule and all of that, maybe that's something that you need to work on. If you look like your uniform has not been washed this season and or ironed or anything else, that's going to deter you. So look at your fellow members, your crews, your partners, and see what they're doing. If there's something that you feel like you're having a hard time with, remember that we all have different skill sets and aptitudes. Your pinnacle of success may be different than someone else. So maybe your pinnacle of success is getting from sub-varsity to JV, whereas you might be working with somebody who goes from varsity to Division II. We all have different skill sets. Some people are 6'4" and trim and run like gazelles, and others are like me. We're 5'4" with 2 bad knees and we can't run anymore. So just make sure you're aware of your physical abilities, as well as your aptitude to make good calls and be in position and do all of those things, because everything's super interrelated. There is no magic number of years it takes an official to become a competent varsity level official. Everybody advances on different timetables on everything in life. Some people go to school and get a degree in 3 years. Some people go and it takes 10 years. Some people master things at a quicker level than others, and that's no different in officiating. So you may work with somebody and come in at the exact same time that they do, and they advance more quickly than you do. It's not because an assigner is playing favorites. It's because that person might actually just be a little bit better than you, and that's okay. Competition and officiating exists, and hopefully it's the old iron sharpens iron adage. Just make sure that competition stays healthy and it doesn't result in you now bad mouthing, oh, well, Nate only got the state tournament because Data likes him or whatever. Just be realistic with your skill set, and know that just because somebody advanced in 5 years and it took you 7, that's everything in life. Our successes are just on a different timetable for every one of us.
And when we talk about timetables, it really is that, and then maybe you are better than the individual that has a better schedule or is moving up a little bit faster. Again, we can't worry about somebody else. We can only worry about ourselves and what we need to do to improve. If you see somebody that's improving at a faster rate or getting a better schedule, well, then find out what they're doing or have the conversation with your assigner, and so that you're putting the work on yourself. You're not worried about what somebody else is doing. You're worried about what you're doing. And when you worry about yourself and you take care of yourself, again, that's another way to be successful. And really don't worry about everyone around you, because everyone else is going to be viewed. You're going to view everyone else as having something better. And then that's, again, officiating it's a ton of fun, but it's, we also have, it can create low self-esteem in a way. And that's only if we're looking at others to match against our own success. Find your own success and run with it, and you'll be fine.
And Nate, perfect segue. I don't know if you planned that, but control the things you can control. Study the rule book, watch film, don't be afraid to ask questions, make sure your uniform fits properly, stay in shape, be a team player, welcome feedback, be positive, and advocate for yourself. So those are all things within your control. In officiating, there's a whole lot that is not in your control. So hone in on those things that you can take care of. Be accountable for yourself. Do those things that you can do. If you fail your open book rules test, it's probably because you've never opened the book to see what section of the rule book different rules fall under. If you don't ask questions, you're not going to get any good at this. One of the best things you can do, like Nate said, hop in a car with a bunch of veterans and go on a road trip. I'll say this, and I apologize if there's anybody on this who is not 21, but we always say the most learning for officials takes place in bars and cars. So that could also be replaced with restaurants or ice cream parlors or coffee shops. So just make sure that you're having those conversations and asking questions, being a team player, always looking for ways to improve yourself. Those are the things that you can control, because what the assigner does, you can't control. There is a degree of luck in officiating. Sometimes we've had officials who, get to the next level because they got seen by an assigner at their kid's middle school game. So there is a little bit of luck that takes place, but if you work hard and you control the things you can control, you're going to make your road a lot easier in this avocation.
No, I think that just going back to the bars and cars, I and I truly fell in love with this avocation of officiating because of the road trips and the iced tea after the game. That was, really ultimately that's still my favorite part of officiating. And so take that and trust me, it's fun. You'll have fun.
All right, so we are at the end of our presentation, and wow, look, we actually did that in an hour. I'm impressed. We do have a few minutes. Our next presentation, I believe, isn't until 4, so we can open it up to questions if anybody has any. You can actually just unmute. You'll get to know if you're new to us. We're pretty informal, so if you've got any questions or comments, veterans on here, if you've got comments as well, please feel free to unmute and ask or tell at this time.
Oh, come on, let's open up.
No, they're being shy. See, I don't know how many of them are actually still there because all the cameras are off.
Let's find a veteran and
Oh, Paul.
Oh, Paul.
You can
Go ahead.
You can unmute.
Oh, hi. I was just waving to say, hey, I'm still here.
Hi. I thought you were going to say something profound.
No, I'm just excited for basketball. I've done it for quite a few years down in Silver City area, the southwest corner, and I'm up in Albuquerque. So I'm really excited to get back in. I had to sit out last couple of years due to injuries and family issues, but I'm excited to get back. And you new veterans, you new officials, you're going to love it. Like you said, I've had my fun times making those long 2-3 hour drives and talking with officials and learning things, and you really build a really neat camaraderie with the other officials. So I'm excited for this year to get going back again and blow that whistle again.
All right, I'm going to call on a couple veterans, and I kind of just want you to let us know what you enjoy about officiating. Richard Lewis, are you available? Richard, are you available? No? Ty Friends. Bill Johnson, how about you? I think you're unmuted.
Yes, Nate. I just want to extend all the mentoring process that came from Dana and yourself and the whole NMOA over the previous years. I just want to say thank you. And I'm just looking forward to adjusting a lot of basic fundamentals when the school starts slowly. And I just want to say thank you, Nate and Dana, especially. Okay.
Awesome.
Thanks, Bill.
How about Candace? Are you available?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Candace.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
So a little bit about Candace. She is, I think, a 20-year veteran with the New Mexico Officials Association. She was part of the first all-female crew to work a state championship game in the state of New Mexico in the sport of basketball. But Candace, tell us a little bit about kind of why you started officiating and what you enjoy about it.
So when I first ran off to college, after my first semester, I was ready to leave NMSU because I was homesick. My uncle at the time was officiating football and basketball, and he said, come on out. you love basketball, you should come out and try officiating. 20 years later, I'm still officiating. I love the sport of basketball, but I would have never in a million years thought, even after my first year or second year or third year, that I would still be officiating 20 years later. And I did graduate from NMSU with multiple degrees to say that. So I've ended up staying there. But, one of the things that I think really helped me as I transitioned, like Nate was saying, is the road trips. Everybody is really my family. Like, they're my extended family, all of my officiating friends that I have met along the way. And that is what's really kept me in it, is because I get to still stay connected with them. And even over the last year, that's what's been hardest, is that connection. We still text each other and things like that, but you miss those road trips because of the conversations you have about the games or the plays that you're seeing, and, sending each other clips and things like that. And so you just end up turning into a family. And just like, Dana has taken us all in, and we're all her kids and a family and whatnot. And so I couldn't have imagined going the last 20 years without creating the relationships that I've created from officiating.
Awesome. I'm actually going to call on a newer official, but definitely one that has really come in and worked really hard, and that's Carmela Garcia. She is a soccer, basketball, softball official, and Carmela, kind of what advice would you give some of the newer officials? Being what I think you're in your fourth year, what would be some advice you would give them on being successful? She also did work her first state championship game this year in the sport of soccer. And so that's a huge accomplishment for an official in their third year, I believe. So.
I was hoping you didn't call on me, but here it is. I do have a fear of speaking in front of people, but officiating has broke me out of that habit, has definitely given me the courage, like you said. I just completed my second year in basketball and soccer. But being a newer official, you definitely have to put yourself out there. You have to start being comfortable with uncomfortable. I coached prior 7 years soccer and basketball. So kind of, making yourself uncomfortable, asking a lot of questions, no matter how annoyed people might get, you're wanting to get better. It's a fun experience. I definitely do like this side a whole lot better. Don't tell any coaches. But I do like the officiating side with all the relationships you develop, like Candace said, like Nate said. It's just each game. I didn't realize how each game you have to be on your game. It presents a new, not all games are going to be the same. It definitely requires a lot of thinking, a lot of critical thinking that you have to, figure out. I'm still trying to figure out myself what works for me and what doesn't. So I have a couple of mentors that I go through who's just always been there. And, the association itself it's a great association. They're always going to be there for you, mentor or not, questions, they're going to always have answers for you. So if you have questions, just ask them. Don't be afraid to, I don't want to get them mad. Then if you think that you're going to get them mad, then yeah. But I just really think that just have fun with it.
Awesome. With that, I'll hand it over to Dana, and she can make some final comments.
Well, I don't know. Those are awesome comments, and really, Carmela, you're on point for sure. And I have a hard time believing that you're shy or having a hard time speaking in public, because that was a great answer. So see, the officiating things really helped you.
Yeah, I'm a pretty big introvert. But officiating has broke me out of that.
I don't believe that for a second, but if you say so, I'll trust you on that one. See, honesty. So you're being honest with us. But I want to say thank you to all of you for being with us this afternoon, and for hopefully, reviewing or learning or whatever the case may be. So, whoa, Nate just spotlighted me and it scared me because I saw myself in a big old screen. So anyway, for those of you who I've been fortunate to work with over the years, thank you for being on with us today, and hopefully taking something back to your local groups, or just thank you for being here as a support role as well for our newer officials. For those of you that maybe are first year that I haven't gotten to work with, I wish you all of the success in the world as you endeavor down this path. Candace hit the nail on the head with regard to the officiating family and the importance of that within our lives. The only reason I'm taking a job at the National Federation and going to Indianapolis is because of the officials in our state. So I've been fortunate to work for and with the best officials, I think, in the country. And you all will continue to be my beacon and will guide me through this next chapter in my life. But welcome for those of you who are new, welcome back for those of you who are returning. And I really do hope we have some, normalcy. I hate that word so much, but hopefully we get back to the way things once were way back in like 2019. It seems like that was 15 decades ago, but I hope the best for everybody in 21, 22. And no matter if I'm here or in Indianapolis, I will be cheering for each of you for a successful first year for some of you, 30th year for some of you, but just a great career overall. So kick butt, be awesome, and enjoy the ride.
All right. For those of you that are basketball officials, we will begin our state clinic for basketball here at 4:00. If you are in the mountains, we are virtual. So if you're in any other time zone, we are 4:00 Mountain Standard Time. And volleyball, again, will start up tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. and then football will be 1:00. So we look forward to the rest of the state clinic. Have a good evening.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye, Sherry.